Oh, brilliant. So hello everyone and welcome back to part 2 of the periodization lecture. Hope you had a good break. Now we're going to go into how to apply these models. So these are just some of the different loading methods you can use inside your training program to increase variety for clients and athletes. So we've got a couple here. So it's looking at accommodating resistance through the use of bands and chains. So bands will be sort of attached to the bottom of a squat rack or via dumbbells. Then you'd loop them up to the actual barbells themselves. And the idea is that the band will be trying to pull you down as you try and stand up or move the barbell or implement away from you. Main reason for bands is to increase force velocity, increase your force production, increase your rate of force production as well. So very much for that speed explosive training. And then chains is very much for heavier loading through accommodating resistance. As you stand up, the weights get heavier, but as you come back down, the weights get lighter. So they have a deloading effect at the bottom. As you can see of the picture, the chains are all in a ball in the ground. Whereas the bands, if you start lowering them, you'll still have the tension on the bands. They won't really change if you tie them off correctly, because the band shouldn't go slack at the bottom. Then the next one, you've got weight releasers. So again, if this was a face-to-face lecture, I would have brought them in because not many people have ever seen one before. So what they is that essentially hooks on the end of the bar. So you stand up, walk them out, they tend to sway a bit. And obviously you can add on extra weight, but as you lower, they'll hit the ground first and they'll unhook. So if I'm going down, they'll unhook that way, hence me, they'll go down and back like that. And as you can see from the video here, you'll go down, but they'll move out to the side via here. It's just another way of overloading the eccentric phase of a lift. Again, it can be done on bench press, shoulder press, and squats mainly. Anyway, you can do them on deadlifts, bands and chains and deadlifts you can work to. But then again, it's just another variation you can add into your training. A tendo unit, again, it's a way of measuring force velocity output. It essentially measures the speed of the bar when you're lifting. It is a good idea, but can turn out really badly if given to the wrong type of athletes. For example, if it's particularly a group of guys all maxing out, and their goal is to try and who can move the bar the fastest. So let's take bench press or squat. They'll obviously try and move the bar fast without taking account technique or safety. And what I mean by that is they will try and drop the bar and catch it, or drop themselves in the squat and let them rebound out of it without really consideration for their joints. So again, good coaching and good observation and spotting around it and ensuring that everyone adheres to safety protocols is deemed necessary. Couple other ones, we've got triphasic and clustering. Again, so this is an example of triphasic undulating block method in the squat. So weeks 1 and 2 are going to be eccentric style. So you're going to do an eccentric squat of 6 seconds down and just going back up. Weeks 3 and 4, isometric. So you go down normally in the squat, but you'll hold for 3 seconds. Then you'll then come back up, essentially a pause squat. Then block 3, weeks 5 and 6, you'll do a concentric squat, which you'll just do a normal squat as normal. And this will be, and that again, that's just a very simple example of that. Beginning to do it for a range of exercises, movements, and whatnot. Clustering is 3 sets of 3 reps or 3 sets of 1 + 1 + 1. Allows for more quality reps at intense load, usually performed on high intensity, low volume days. And again, got a little link in there for you to see. We then got complex training, which is the use of plyometrics in between sets of strength training. So this would be 3 sets of 3 reps paired with 3 sets of 3 plyometrics. So you could look at squats and box jumps, something as simple as that. But that's all it could be. And the load of the weight, so the weight in using the exercise before you go into the plyometric work, would be something under 80% of your 1 rep max. Then you got contrast training. This is used during heavy loading phases, drop off around 15 to 20%. So sets 1 to 2 reps at 90%. So sorry, set 1, 2 reps, 90%, set 2, 2 reps, 70%, set 3, 2 reps, 90, set 4, 2, 70, up and down. Again, contrast. Again, it's just a different way of training. We've got pyramid sets, so first set, 2 to 4 reps, max effort. Second set, 4 to 6 reps, reduce weight by 10%. Third set, 6 to 8 reps, reduce weight by 10%. But again, you can do pyramid training in different ways. So that's a reverse pyramid, whereas I could pyramid up to the 2 to 4 reps for max effort as well. Doesn't have to be the reverse way. You can do it the ascending way as well. Then you've got giant sets, which is a combination of 3 or more exercises with less than 60 seconds rest in between. Difference between giant sets and supersets is that when you do a giant set, you do 3 or more exercises in a row, and when you do supersets, you only combine 2. Drop sets is a training technique where you perform a normal set, but rather than heading straight into your rest, you drop the weight and perform another set until failure. And it's always important to keep your rest as short as possible between sets with only enough time to reduce the weight. So that could be, drop set doing, let's say, hammer curls. So you do sets of 10, 12 reps, and then you drop down the weight from 15 kilos to a 12 immediately, and that's your rest. Then you go straight into it. Or you have someone you already have the dumbbells laid out, or your training partner passes you to them immediately. And then supersets, as I said, is a form of strength training in which you move quickly from one exercise to a separate exercise without taking break or rest in between the 2 exercises. Typically, you'll take a brief break to catch your breath or grab a drink between the 2. Okay, now we're on to auto regulation, RPE, rate of perceived exertion, and fatigue percents. This is just another method of training, planning, and measuring effort within our periodization lecture. So auto regulation means simply to adjust training to fit your current needs, judging your work capacity on any given day to match your actual training routine with that training. Auto regulation is to do with the daily changes and how they will affect your training sessions on a day-to-day basis. One way to put it is, if you feel great, train hard. If you feel crap, I would advise light, doing back off sets. So RPE scale matching effort to numbers. So again, some of the more basic ones, most people have seen have been the 1 to 10 scale. So 1, very light activity, that's anything other than sleeping, watching TV, riding in a car. Light activity, you can maintain for hours, easy to breathe, carry conversation. Moderate feels like you can exercise for hours, breathing heavily, can hold short conversations. Vigorous activity, on the verge of becoming uncomfortable, shorter breath, can speak a sentence. Very hard, very difficult to maintain exercise intensity, can barely breathe and speak a single word. Max effort activity, feels almost impossible to keep going, completely out of breath, unable to talk. Within sort of sport and exercise science fields, we would use the Borg RP, which is from 6 to 20. And this is how we'd sort of let's say a client was running a VO2 max test, we would have this next to them and ask them just to point with their finger where they are on it. And again, so that way we can sort of scale it and watch the progression going up. Just gives us a more detailed way of analyzing fatigue and effort as the session would go on. So again, these tables here, you've got the RP scale matching the effort to numbers. So this is for your 1 rep max chart. So from the Reactive Training Manual 2008 by Mike to share, this one was modified from, and I believe this was from Bryce Lewis's website. I think so. References are all the very end of the presentation anyway. So what I'm trying to say is that, so your RPE 10 will be equivalent to your 1 RM, which is 100% of your max. Think of it as that. And as the RPs drop and your reps, you can see increase, you'll see your percentage of your 1 rep max decrease. So if you have a think about it, my 10 RPE for 5 reps, it would be around your 85% of your 1 rep max. That is generally what it is. So it's saying like 86% here. And again, 6 reps is 84. So that's what you're sort of ranging for, which is right. And then if I'm saying, okay, what's my RP8 for a set of 10 reps? Well, that's going to be about 68% of my 1 rep max. So that's just giving you an idea. And again, these here are just some wording to accompany the numbers here. So 10 RPE is maximal, no reps left in the tank. Doesn't mean going to failure though. So that means you do 1 rep, but you can't do any more reps. But if it was over a 10 RPE, it means you did 1 rep, but you failed on your second rep immediately after. So that means you went to RPE failure. RPE and auto regulation, using a combination of percentages and RPE variations to monitor individual loads. You can have lower body RPE, upper body RPE, technical RPE. Again, you can look at the total time of work in seconds times overall RPE. This is the Ganner and Weston method for quantifying a workload. Again, with all this here, you've got a lot of information getting back from the client, the lifter, the athlete, and it really paints a picture as how they're feeling on any given day. As you know, you have to remember this is subjective feedback and it's of their own opinion. It's not objective, such a sense where you could track their heart rates, you could track their grip strength. That's been used to measure, general readiness. And in terms of like other ones, you can measure reaction times as well. Too, so that there is a few things to sort of assess and see, is someone going to perform well on any given day without doing any sort of invasive style of training. But RPE generally is a good measure anyway. So firstly, RPE and auto regulation. Firstly, human body isn't a math problem which can be solved simply. We need to adjust and react to day-to-day real-life external variables. Real-life things can go well and things don't go well. Some variables can affect a training session, such as per night's sleep, hard day at work, arguments, which all have a negative effect. On the flip side, getting a great night's sleep, passing a test, or getting a promotion would help facilitate your workouts as the stress levels are low. RP and auto regulation again. So volume is not your main concern with this. Your main concern is getting stronger, as this example. So strength is your concern. To get this, the training tends to play a key role in getting stronger. Majority of your training effect will be determined by the weight on the bar. The train heavy will have a different training effect to train light. That means the volume primarily determines the magnitude of the training effect. It's like a compass. The intensity determines the direction, and the volume determines how fast you go in that direction. So why not just train to the appropriate stress levels and skip any concerns about the volume? This is the argument for RPE over other standard periodization plans. So this is what fatigue percents accomplishes. So fatigue percents within RPE and auto regulation training program would look like this. For you're doing, let's say squats, 90 kilos, 5 reps at 7 RPE, 95 kilograms, 5 reps at 8 RPE, not at the 9 RPE yet, so we add more weight, 100 kilograms, 5 reps at 9 RPE, top set, heaviest I will do. Drop by the fatigue amount of 5% of weight and work up to another 9 on the RPE scale. So do 95 kilos for 5 reps at 8 RPE, and you repeat again until 9 RPE. So you may do a couple more sets. Everyone's different. It doesn't have to be that extra set, but you just keep loading the weight back up until you get it, until you hit that intensity is what you need. So this controls volume based on your performance for the day. Again, Science for Sport. Again, if you don't know who these guys are, really good Facebook page, Instagram page, and Twitter too for anything exercise and sports science. So a really good infographic on fatigue monitoring. So I can let you pause that and then you can just read going on through it because there's quite a bit of text on that. So last little part of the slides here, we're looking at tapering. So this is finishing off the periodization plan. What is tapering? So I was fortunate enough to attend a seminar at Teesside Uni, which hosted, if we pronounce his name correctly, Inigo Mujanka, a renowned sports scientist in 2013. He works with an array of teams on their preparations for competitions. Tapering in the sports context defined by Mujanka means a progressive nonlinear reduction in the training load during a variable period of time in an attempt to reduce the physical and psychological stress of daily training and optimize sports performance. It is used in the run of a sporting event where the final preparations are put in place for the athlete to achieve the best performance possible. This will include deloading the training through reducing training volume and frequency, but keeping the intensity high to replicate the competition. The goal of during the taper periods is to maintain the physiological adaptations achieved during intense training, while the negative impact of training resolves. So if you recall back to all those diagrams about, the general adaptation syndrome, looking at the stress recovery adaptation model, and looking at how the volume, intensity, and athlete preparedness changes over time as closer you get to a competition or event. This is what we're talking about here, just in more depth again. So under ideal circumstances, this will result in an athlete who has made maximal physiological adjustments at the exact same time the negative influences of training have diminished, resulting in optimal performance potential. The performance enhancement that usually takes place with the taper is related to recovery of physiological capacities that were impaired by past training and to restore the tolerance to training, resulting in further adaptations during the taper. Both of these are correct ways of looking at what the effect tapering does in the lead up to a competition. To apply these to a strength athlete such as myself in powerlifting, using the first definition, my goal is maintaining the strength gain in the run up to my next competition. To give my CNS some recovery, especially from lifting 85 to 90% in previous weeks. That's 85 to 90% of my 1 rep max. Relating to the second definition, the rest leading up to the event will allow my body to feel fresh and ready to attempt new maxes, especially after running a successful training program. The majority of all physiological adaptations will occur before the taper, but some will occur during the taper, such as repair of muscle fibers, increased motor neuron recruitment, and energy store replenishment. Tapering and performance as an equation. So from the seminar, I learned a simple model that helps explain athletes' performance. This is Bannister and Fitz-Clark, 1993. So training equals, open brackets, plus or minus, close brackets, fitness plus, open brackets, plus or minus, close brackets, fatigue equals performance. This model shows as fitness is increased, plus, the athlete's performance will increase. However, if fatigue is increased, then the athlete's performance will be reduced, minus. It's quite a simple way of viewing it, but it works. So what is tapering? There are 4 types of tapering in the literature. So you've got exponential taper, which is your fast decay, so very, very quick. Exponential taper, slow decay, again, very gradual. Your step taper, reduced training. And then your linear taper. The exponential tapers are essentially linear tapering. It's essentially linear tapering as the quantity of training decreases steadily over the course of a taper in a continuous slide, reaching next to no training at the end of the taper. The main difference between a fast and slow decay taper is one is very quick and the other is slow. It takes longer to taper than the other, i.e. it may take, for the fast taper, it may be done over a matter of days, whereas the slow taper may be done over a matter of 2 to 3 weeks. Again, depending on the individual, the age, the sport, training demands, whatnot. There's a range of factors that go into this. So these are some of the effects of a taper. There are physiological and psychological effects of an effective taper pre-competition. Physiological effects include a range of effects for all sports: increased VO2 max, economy, muscle oxygenation, testosterone increase, red blood cell volume increase, hematocrit, increase hemoglobin increase, reticulocytes increase, glycogen concentration increase, oxidative enzymes, muscle fiber contractile properties increase, strength and power output increases. Psychological effects include reduced perception of effort, global mood disturbance, perception of fatigue is reduced, increased vigor, improved quality of sleep, and generally you're going to feel a lot more excited going into a competition, a lot more positive mindset. So environmental factors that may affect a taper. So again, there's a range of them. So stressors such as travel across time zones, the different heat and altitude within a new country may interfere with the taper of athletes' preparation for international comps, particularly if it's quite humid or very hot or very cold. Again, that's going to affect an athlete's own training and ability to perform. A training load reduction can help an athlete cope with jet lag, and this training reduction should be integrated into the taper program. So if you are going to be traveling a far distance, it may be worthwhile building that within your program as well. Tapering in hot environments before competition seems to be compatible with reduction in training volume recommended when facing heat stress. And altitude training camps also require initial reduction in training load, which may itself constitute a form of tapering itself. Regarding points 2 and 3, from my own previous experience as a coach and as an athlete, part of the Irish powerlifting team, regarding point 2 for the training load reduction, when I went to the World University Championships in 2016 to Belarus, we built our training so that my last few train sessions was more skill work and just made myself still feel loose before I went and maxed out. And we built that into I arrived. So I had time to obviously kick off the jet lag and travel. Not so much it was that the time zone didn't affect me or like the area I was in. It was more that I had to travel from Dublin to Amsterdam, Amsterdam to Frankfurt, Frankfurt over to Belarus, Minsk. So there's multiple flights and just changing over, constantly moving. So again, we built that into it, and then whenever we went to Texas for the World Championships. Again, very very hot state Texas is within the United States of America. What I ensured was that it was more about watching my actual weight there. It wasn't that I was going to be overweight. It was more worried I was going to be underweight because it was so hot. So I had to keep eating and just keep drinking more. There was a couple of guys, again, all of us being from Ireland, who really struggled with the heat. And again, we lost a lot of water just through sweat. So it was about staying hydrated the whole time, just staying in the shade whenever possible. So factors affecting to maintain a taper, again, some of the things I've already said or alluded to in the previous slides. This could be the time between your games or competitions, the travel itself, then competitiveness of the opposition you're playing against. Again, this is more in like team sports, and or if you're in single combat sports, whatnot. Injury can affect obviously your minutes of game time played, the physiological adaptations to your own training program, and your recovery itself. So again, looking at strength sports. So whenever I was looking at this, and again, from what the seminar was sort of telling was anywhere between 8 to 14 days seemed to be enough for a taper. Some people need it a little bit longer than that. Some people need it a little bit shorter, and that's why they're fast and slow exponential decay tapers to suit those with their own specific needs. So for me, if I was just competing within the UK and Ireland, for me, a week's all I need, really. I don't need anything more or less than that. However, I'm in my mid-20s. I know some clients of mine who are in their 40s, they need like 10, 11, maybe 12 days to push that to still compete in a powerlifting competition. Again, you just have to take your clients and your athletes and your team's needs into account. So tapering for team sports, this is going to be a lot harder than for individual sports, as the needs are not for one, but for 20 plus players, sometimes 30 plus players, each requiring different tapering methods themselves. However, most will be competing and train on and at the same days, low locations, which makes it easier for the coach, i.e. you. The figure below or to the side, whoever it comes up on the slides for you, shows a basic model for teams who have a match on Saturdays and how their general training plan should follow in season. So again, you can sort of see on Saturday, this is what their game day is, whatnot. Then the one below, this is 2 games during a week. It's what they have here as well. So it shows you as they get closer to it, the adaptive response increases. Then they obviously their training load increases on the weekends, whatnot after the game. But then this here allows them to recover. So it's like a waved thing going the whole way through. So for coaches and tapering, set specific, difficult targets for the players to increase their physical and mental strength and determination, help the players stay motivated, focused, relaxed, and free of external and internal pressure in the days before and during the event, find the optimal balance between training and recovery, minimize the incidence of injury throughout the competitive season in a coordinated effort between players, club staff, and national team staff, perform a taper that has been tested and proven to be successful in prior events, match or exceed the physical output requirements of competition during training. Again, that key one is my personal favorite. So in summary for tapering, again, minimize your fatigue and improve that athlete or team's fitness or client's fitness, maintain the training intensity throughout, reduce training volume by 41 to 60% over the course of the taper, maintain training frequency at or above 80%, individualized taper duration between 4 and 28 days. Again, depending on the sport, it's going to be probably between two weeks to that 15-day mark at max. Use progressive tapering designs and expect performance improvements of around 3% plus. For the off season, again, there's just some of my own thoughts. I would encourage your athletes and clients to play other sports. Improves the ability to see players develop and make new plays or new sort of skills. Improves their running and jumping abilities. Improves hand-eye coordination. Conditions the athletes. Again, this could be basketball, Russian basketball, tennis, racquetball, volleyball, table tennis, soccer, trash ball, football, and whatnot. Off season, post-workout recovery is often overlooked. In building in recovery when designing programs, it's important to start the healing process of the body, and there are three basic types of recovery: mechanical, biochemical, and psychological. Mechanical is like your exercises and your cool downs. Biochemical is your nutrition, what we eat. Psychological, sleep and mental de-stress. For the mechanical, there's obviously ridding the body in metabolic ways. So you're stretching, your foam rolling, your yoga, Pilates, whatnot, your mobility work, stretching with bands, whatnot. Increases the circulation to help get nutrients to areas in need of repair. Helps decompress tissues in the spine after loading. For the nutrition, the biochemical replenishes energy stores, obviously. Begins the regeneration of damaged tissues as part of growth. And the psychological, again, the sleep is where your body grows, heals, and obviously taking your time away, meditation, breathing exercises are very key to help that mental de-stress. And even just talking with a sports psychologist, talking with their teammates, players, coaches, letting you know how you feel, and also you can have a healthy and active, balanced lifestyle without any signs of disease or ailment, and that's both for the physiological and for the psychological. So this is getting nearly there. So this is talking about placebos. Again, can we use on our clients or athletes? So can a placebo enhance performances even when the athlete knows it is a placebo? Athletes underperform in open-labeled conditions. However, positive effects of an open-label placebos in medicine have recently been demonstrated. Open-label placebo, this is a placebo, like someone tells you it is. Placebos have been found to improve sports performance by up to 5% in a number of scientific papers. Pilot study, there's 12 participants, use the Cooper test. That's one where you run for 12 minutes. And the mean improvement time of each person was 2.8%. So, like applying a placebo to elite level athletes, British cycling head coach Dave Brailsford sought to make up this 5% cap of which performance-enhancing drugs created over the drug-free cyclists. This is in the Tour de France. This involved improving each aspect of the cycling team's performance by 1%. It included the following: having their own team bus, their own chef to meal prep at the whole hotels and venues, which each athlete having their own personalized nutritional plan, as coordinated by the chef and dietitian. Their own bed sheets and pillows brought to each hotel to improve sleep quality. Dehumidifiers in each room to make sure the air humidity was perfect for each athlete. Bikes all custom made to fit each athlete and incredibly light and obviously very, very high spec. All bikes were made lighter to save weight, drag, whatnot. All athletes changed the riding position to create less resistance when riding. Again, performance improvement there. Clothing was lighter as well, more aerodynamic and breathable. And the team psychologist for each athlete to make sure they're in the correct mental state. And all of this is like small performance gains, and they all add up to make the overall performance improvement. So another section to point on top about is taking athletes and clients' goals with a pinch of salt. Some clients and athletes will ask for unrealistic goals and results. You'll have to be blunt and say what they can and can't achieve. There's no point waffling with them. Just tell them as straight as it is. Some clients after say they will stick to a plan but will end up doing extra work as they feel they aren't doing enough, then either burn out or get injured and wonder why they aren't getting better. Clients, athletes at times will assume they know more than you by reading an article online that buys into their beliefs. You need to assert yourself as the coach and leader and don't let them lead you. So the end result, when obviously you got a correct periodic plan, you've got a good range of progressive overloads, you've applied the FIT principle the whole way through, got a good range of exercise selections, variations in them to prevent boredom and stagnation. What you'll see is an athlete improve over time, not overnight, but over time. An example here is the shot put champion Reese Hoffa from USA from 1998 to 2006 in his performance. He went from age 20 to 28. His body weight went from 122 kilograms to 137 kilos. His shot put distance throwing went to, he was throwing an average more further over the years as well, which he got up to 22.11 being the best with the 7.226 competition weight. And bench press, again, he was doing 3 sets of 205 kilogram bench press in 2006, again, which is more low than doing just one of 220. His back squat, he was doing 5 sets of 500 pounds, which is 227 kilos. Push press, again doing 4 sets of 160 kilos. And his world ranking, as you can see, improved dramatically, went 41st, 28, 32, 9, 5, 3. And his USA ranking as well increased as well. So again, this is what you can sort of see is athletes over time will improve if you get the plan in place and it meets the athlete's needs and competition needs and you assess him correctly, him or her correctly. So there we are. We've come to the end. Summary of the lecture. So we've covered the following: the 10 programming commandments, and again, they're all taken from the video with all the strength coaches chatting. I just put them in into word format for you. Just makes it a little bit easier. The rules and guidelines for making a program, accessories, making good use of them, and how to accessorize your own accessories. The different periodization models and the theories, the supercompensation models and their variations, different ways to apply training methods and within these models, auto regulation and RPE, another different method quantifying effort and intensity, tapering for team sports, strength sports, individual sports, different types of tapers and factors affecting them, different types of athletes and clients you may meet throughout, and talk a little bit about placebos. Final takeaway factors for a successful program. If you don't remember anything from these 2 talks, please remember this for your own coaching and planning. High volume, high intensity, high frequency, some overtraining to push athletes a tiny bit harder, but always high expectations. But don't burn them out with the overtraining. Remember, you can always overreach and push them hard over a hard week, but don't let them burn out. Okay, a hard week may be viewed as overtraining, but you're putting them into the right direction so the body can adapt and improve. And again, if you've got any questions, do just message me on email. That's at a.s.richardson@tees.ac.uk. So that's Andrew Richardson, a.s.richardson@tees.ac.co.uk. Thank you very much for listening. Again, a few bits of homework for you is I've attached 4 videos for you. Again, this is sort of like what to see universities, the changing fields within sports science and strength and conditioning. Again, some really good coaches in this one, all from like the NSCA, all the big sports performance centers over in the actual States. Again, all the videos here. Again, so some of the notes I've taken from for today's lecture, all from these here books. So Periodization for Sports by Chudabompa, brilliant book. Mark Ripto's Practical Programming book. Essentials of S&C by the NSCA, really good book. More of a theory one, The Science and Practice of Strength Training is one of my personal favorites. I recommend you read these ones first before you get into Super Train. Super Train's a very, very heavy book. Again, a little task you can do yourself in your own time. So Guy won the books in the previous slide just here. Probably start with the Tudor bumper one. If not, go on to the Essentials of S&C and the Science of Practice and Strength Training, and then design your own training from said book. Write a training program for a year for your own sport or your own training goals, then start making variations of that for your own clients and athletes. Again, here's some coaching strategies from different sort of groups. So women's hockey in England, boxing, elite men's rugby union, Edinburgh Rugby, elite Muay Thai, Irish Irish Youth Olympic Summer, GB Rower, and again, some websites again, the stuff from elitefts.com, United Kingdom Strength and Conditioning Association, and Strength and Conditioning Research, and the Journal of S&C. Again, references all throughout, and some of the bibliography from other notes I've taken from. And there's my contact details there. And thank you very much for listening, and have a great semester too. Any questions, just fire back to me or back to Will. Thank you.